Happy Friday, everyone. Yesterday we went long, today we're going short. So it's going to be a nice little quick blitzer, well, quickish, we'll say quickish, but definitely not 25-minute adventure like yesterday. Before we get to that though, let's talk about our warm-up. Our warm-up is going to consist of some lower body and upper body love. We got a plank to down dog for 3 to 5. Front scale raise for 5 aside, side scale for 3 aside, moving into a single leg RDL for 5 aside, and a good morning with foam roller for 5. So this is kind of a different twist. I've had some of you guys do this on your own, but we're going to bring this into the warm-up today just to work on some adductor strength and just a different focus on the good morning. So we'll play with that. 1 to 3 rounds, taking that down. Seeing as though the warm-up is not, or the workout is not super long, definitely make sure you're ready to go when you're warmed up well. But you have a nice range of 1 to 3 rounds of that piece. Then we're going to move into the next phase, which is going to consist of some calf raises for 30 seconds, weighted, unweighted. You can do a bunch of different things there. Single leg bridge for 5 aside, bridge pullback for 3 at a 5 to 10 second, kind of hold and contraction. Tuck hollow with extension for 20 seconds. I'm going to hit that for 2 to 3 rounds. So again, focusing a little bit more single leg, hamstring love, working on a little bit of core work there, just to again keep slowly warming the body up, getting prepped, and then afterwards we're going to work a practice round. This practice round is what you're going to use to get things fired up and your heart rate going. So depending on what you choose to do in the work set will depend on what you do in this practice round. I have a little mini kind of piece right here on the bottom, which is dumbbell sumo deadlift high pull, dumbbell march, we did yesterday in our work set, and an ankle pop. So that can change in terms of those movements, and you'll see what I mean as we talk about the workout. The workout, one time through, is going to be 30 dumbbell sumo deadlift high pulls per side. So you'll take down 30 on one side, 30 on the other side. How you do this, we're going to talk about that is up to you. If you'd like to do, 60 total, busting out 5, bust out 5, bust out 5, you can. If you want to just stick with, 30 on one side, 30 on the other side, it's all good. So have some fun with that, make your choice. If you have a slightly heavier dumbbell, I would go with the smaller sets back and forth to keep your body ability to move forward. If you have a slightly lighter dumbbell, go for 30 straight on that one side or 2 sets, just getting in, building that fatigue up on that one side before flipping to the other side. So a couple different options there for you guys, but once you're done your 30 and 30, you're going to move into a wall run of 2 minutes, which I'll have some different variations of cardio choices on that wall run. And then you're going to move into 100 double unders or another variation of double under that's going to give you a nice similar stimulus to that movement. One time through, it's going to be a cardio blitzer. We're going to have some fun with this one. I hope you guys enjoy it. And we're going to have a good time today on Friday. Bring in the weekend, because tomorrow we got a sweet little work set coming up. But this is going to guide you right in there with some intensity. Let's warm up. Let's get you ready for action. All right, you guys, let's get those feet under the hips. We'll take the arms up big and tall. We're just going to reach it to one side. We're going to take it over to the other side. We're just going to do a little once over quick. We're going to take it all the way down to the floor, touching those toes. We're going to walk with those shins. We'll come down, frame of foot, step back into your lizard, nice and square. Inside hands are going to reach way up, and I'm going to rotate forearm to the floor. We're going to take that back up, big stretch, and rotate forearm to the floor. And one more time, big stretch, and rotate. Good. We'll come back up, planting that hand on the floor. We're going to step back into our down dog. Setting those shoulders good and strong. We're going to walk those heels back and forth. Again, we're walking those feet dynamically back and forth as we hold that upper body still with those arms. Nice and steady, nice and smooth. Just taking it back and forth. We're going to come back into our plank. Stepping a foot up. Inside hand nice and strong. Take the arm up to the sky. We're going to rotate forearm to the floor. Come back up. And rotate forearm to the floor. Up and rotate and back up. Planting that hand, we're going to step back into our down dog. Reaching those hips, nice set shoulders again. Walking those heels back and forth, just waking them up a little bit. Making sure things feel okay. We'll come back into that plank. Tiptoe those feet all the way up. And then we're going to roll ourselves big tall stretch overhead. Big reach. Oh, big reach. Yeah. Come on down. Let's get you fired up. All right, let's pause that video. If you'd like to take down some more gentle warm-up for yourself, please do so. We're doing a lot of lower body love coming up in a few moments. So if you want to show your upper body a little bit of love, you can. But again, we're primarily focusing on that lower body today, going for it today. So take your time, pause the video, come back. Let's talk about a little bit of balance work. All right, first workout of movement of the day is going to be our plank to down dog. So I'm going to get myself set up in that good strong plank, nice and tight through those ribs, pressing through the shoulders. And we're just going to kind of weight things up here. So we're going to pull back into those hips, softening those knees a little bit, softening those ankles so we can get into that good active hip position and that good shoulder position. From here, we're going to come back into the plank, pulling those ribs in and getting into that nice strong plank position. Again, in between these reps, we don't just want to rush back and forth, but we want to make sure we're setting those shoulders in each aspect of the movement so we can get the most out of that transition from that plank to overhead. So we really want to think about that lat wrapping around the body, supporting the shoulder as we move from horizontal to overhead. So take your time, give yourself a moment. If you want to add in a couple heel presses in there, you can as well. But again, the primary focus is maintaining that good shoulder stability as we move into that good hip angle. From there, we're going to work on a little bit of balance work. We're going to work that front scale into our side scale, but two separate pieces. So focus your attention first on that front scale. A couple of cool things to think about in that front scale. Hips square to the front, leg nice and straight. We're using that hip/quad to do the movement and the work. We want to focus a little bit more attention to that balancing leg so that as we lift, it stays nice and straight and strong. As we lift, sometimes it's very easy to keep this leg kind of loose, and then all of a sudden that knee buckles as we're trying to lift the leg, or we just try and lift the leg too high, and all of a sudden that leg buckles because we don't have the range. So really focus in on that balance, all right? Thinking about that nice flat foot for the balance position, that pointed toe, straight leg, and just lifting to where we can keep that balancing leg straight and our body nice and tall. Hands can go where they need to be, obviously not pulling our leg up, but where they need to be for balance. From here, we're going to change into a lateral movement where we're just going to take that toe, point it so the top of the foot points straight ahead. We're squeezing the glutes again, focusing on that balancing leg. And for this one, we're trying to keep a straight line of action from foot to shoulder. So we're not leaning and tipping. We're staying upright, and then we're moving this leg and lifting that leg up, keeping the top of the foot pointing towards the camera or the front of the room. We're not turning the toe or turning the hip. We're staying nice and square, almost as if I'm standing between two panes of glass, and I'm staying in those two panes of glass as I lift that leg up and down. Trying to resist the urge to use momentum on both of those scale raises, we want to think about the musculature doing the work for us so we can get the most out of those two movements. After that, we're going to tackle the hamstring. So we're tackling each kind of area of that leg. So we're going to work on some single leg RDLs. If you'd like to load this, you can. But in terms of our purpose today for this work set, it's just there to kind of prime up the hamstring a little bit. So we're going to keep that toe down as a sense of balance, nice and tall through the glutes, and we're going to pull the hip back in that hinge. That knee in the front kind of stays exactly where it is. It doesn't really move forward or pull back. We keep that soft knee joint active so that we have good balance. We can feel that hamstring really kick on and say hello today. Because we're going to be using that thing a little bit today in our sumo deadlift high pull. So we want those hamstrings, that leg, really fired up so that it helps stabilize the hips and the knee. So we have 5 per side of those. I like to add in a tempo to those because I really like taking the time to feel that hamstring and feel that position. Next exercise we're going to play with is a good morning with a slight twist. So grab your foam roller and come join me. All right, so the next exercise we're going to play with is a good morning with a slight twist. And I have a foam roller handy. You could use a yoga block if you'd like. squeezing in between your thighs. You could use a pillow of some sort, a throw pillow, something just that's going to fill the void that you can squeeze into a bit. So I'm going to take my foam roller and place it just above my knees. So it's not on the knee joint itself, but it's up in that inner thigh, in that just above the knee, so it's in that area that has some muscle to it. I'm going to turn to the side so you guys can see. So what I'm looking at doing here is my toes are under my hips. I'm squeezing a little bit on that foam roller. So I'm not squeezing so hard that it hurts, but I'm squeezing enough that I can feel that engagement. From here, I squeeze my glutes, and I'm going to keep squeezing the foam roller as I pull back into that hinge. All right, so I get into that same good morning position. I'm working on that same movement, except I'm working on squeezing the foam roller as I do this movement the whole time, which can be harder than you think, because as soon as we start to move, we start to forget about the foam roller. We start to think about the hinge. So there's a lot going on there. So if you find that you can only get to a certain range that's a little bit less than normal, that's okay, all right? What we're working on here is a little internal rotation activation on the hip, opposed to that external activation that we normally do when we squat or work with that deadlift. So it's going to have a different feel to it, but it's going to help wake up those legs just a little bit different today. As a quick recap for our work set, we have a plank to down dog for 3 to 5, front scale raise for 5 aside, side scale raise for 3 aside, coming back at the single leg RDL for 5 aside, loaded or unloaded, and then our good morning with foam roller or some sort of apparatus that we can squeeze to give us that slightly hip width stance. 5 reps of that at a slow tempo, because you can't rush those. You have a lot to think about there, but experiment with it, see how it feels, and we have that top piece for 1 to 3 rounds of work. So pause the video, take that down, have fun with that. It's really going to bring some energy to the legs and the blood flow to the legs, and we're going to move into the next phase for you guys to get you ready. All right, so our next phase of work has our calf raise involved. It's coming at you for 30 seconds. So we can do this loaded, holding it to the front, holding it suitcase, however you'd like. But regardless of loading or not loading, the movement is the same. What I want you guys to really focus on is those toes pointing straight ahead and balance between the big toe and the pinky toe, so that we're not rolling to the outside of our ankle and we're staying nice and square. So a couple key things to think about for these calf raises is a good glute squeeze, a nice rib engagement so that we're nice and tall and tight, and then we can really focus on engaging through those ankles and those feet at a good pace and maintaining that good balance of the big toe. So keeping that glute tight, keeping that core tight. If we're not holding onto a dumbbell, that's fine. The hands can be wherever they need to be for balance, or they can even be hovering above the countertop, table, chair, whatever you need if you need some balance work there. But don't hold on to it, just let them hover. So if you do need them, it's there, but it's going to be a really nice exercise to help breathe some life into those feet and work on that movement. You have 30 seconds, don't worry about max reps, you're just going to move for 30 seconds in that calf raise, and if you want to add in a little pause or a little control down, a little eccentric, please be my guest. From there, we get to lay down for the next 3 exercises. So we're going to get ourselves on our back. Make sure I'm in the camera. All right, we have our single leg bridge. So from here, I'm going to get set up with my heels just outside of my fingers. I'm going to press slightly into the floor. Nothing crazy, but just enough to open up the chest and feel that nice solid positioning. I'm going to lift my leg up, and from here, I'm going to squeeze my glute, lift into that open bridge position, and lower down. So I'm only coming up as high as I can keep those ribs in, and as high as I can keep that level pelvis as I squeeze and lift. So just working that nice smooth lift and lower. Then we can switch, reset the shoulders, and come up. So a couple good things to keep in mind. Shoulders in the foot, kind of base, all right, the bridge. We want to make sure that we're not pushing any extra tension into the neck or the head, and we want to make sure the pelvis stays level so we're not rotating in that movement. After that, we're going to work the bridge pullback. So I stay in that same position. I'm going to pull the ribs in so I have that low back contact, pressing into the floor just gently to open up the chest. I'll squeeze into my bridge. From here, I'm going to transition the weight to my toes, so the balls of the feet, and then I'm going to pull my heels back towards my glutes, which is not going to look like I'm doing much, but I can feel that in my hamstrings kick on as I try and draw those feet back. They're also not going to move because they're attached to the floor. So I want you to think about trying to pull the flooring back towards your body as you do this movement. Now, a couple things to think about. Again, we ribs in, we press into the shoulders, we find our bridge. Now, there's a difference between, again, shifting our weight to the balls of the feet, which might take some weight out of the heels, and pushing into our toes. We're not pushing into our toes with that movement. That's going to put a lot of unnecessary stress in the calf. What we want to do is just shift our weight forward into the balls of the feet so that the heels are a little bit lighter, so that we can feel that pullback and that drawback with the hamstring. Ease into that, you guys. You have 3 reps at 5 to 10 second holds. Accumulate that time if you need to, but just listen to your body and give your hamstrings the dose that they're ready for, and make sure that they don't cramp up on you. If they do, just give them a chance to relax, rub them out, shake them out, and continue from there. The next exercise is a tuck hollow with extension, which is going to help work on stretching out those hamstrings after we say hello to them. So what we're going to do is from that bridge position, we're going to pull those ribs in so we have contact against the floor. We're going to pull the knees into the tuck, and then we're going to pull our shoulders and knees together as we can work on that compression. So we're always pulling the shoulders and the knees together by pulling those ribs and hips together. So really working on that good hollow position the entire time. Now as we're in this tuck, we're going to work on extending the legs straight as we can, and then we're going to pull the heels back to our glutes. I'm going to try and keep the knees as close to the shoulders as we can. So our goal there is to keep the compression even when we extend those legs. And depending on how tight your hamstrings are, as we extend those legs, that's going to want to create some separation between the knee and the shoulder. So really fight for that kind of compression as we work on the extension of the hamstrings. Really take the time to feel that extension and then come back in. I'm not looking for a ton of reps here. We're just looking for 20 seconds of work and time under tension. As a quick little recap, we have a calf raise of 30 seconds, single leg bridge for 5 aside, bridge pullback for 3 at a 5 to 10 second count or hold, and then tuck hollow with extension for 20 seconds. 2 to 3 rounds, take that down, and we're going to get prepped and ready for our practice round. So take your time with that first piece, prime up the legs, get that body ready, and we're going to move into that next phase, which is going to get the heart rate up. Good. Now, your practice rounds. Your practice rounds, you can take anywhere from 1 to 3 rounds. You can take this down for 20-10 kind of work sets, so 20 seconds of work, 10 seconds of rest. You can kind of play around with that all you want, see how it goes. But what we're going to be inputting here is basically movements that are going to get you ready for that work set. So you can ease into it with like the round that I have on the board here with the dumbbell sumo deadlift high pull, dumbbell standing march to fire up the quads a bit for the wall run, and our ankle pop to simulate the skipping. Or you can just jump right in there. If you're going to do the sumo deadlift high pull, move through that into our dumbbell. Instead of our dumbbell march, you can work on some running on the treadmill, some wall runs right away. Whatever you need there, you can experiment with. And I'll have some different variations of practice rounds if you want to experiment with them. But first things first, the movement in our workout that we're doing quite a bit of is our dumbbell sumo deadlift high pull. So let's cover that movement first. We're going to stand over top of our dumbbell so it cuts our foot right in half. So I'm standing nice and tall. I'm going to hinge by pulling my hips back, taking my hips down with that nice angle at the shoulder and the hip, and you take hold of the dumbbell. Now I'm going to push through those legs to get the dumbbell moving, and then guide the dumbbell to the sternum. So I push, and then guide the dumbbell up to the sternum into that high pull. Then I'm going to smoothly come back down to that same hinge, pushing through those legs, then taking it back down to that good hinge, and pushing through those legs. So we want to think about driving through the legs to get that dumbbell moving, not pulling with the arm. I'm going to turn profile so you guys can see this from the side, so you can watch my back angle. So So the back angle is our primary focus, just like our deadlift. We take it down to where we feel comfortable. I push through that lovely leg position, and I take it back down. Set position, push, come back down. And I'm only trying to take that dumbbell up to as high as I can maintain that position with that good shoulder. So I don't need to see the dumbbell up above our shoulder with the arm or the hand above the elbow. The hand stays below the elbow the entire time. So a dumbbell at that height is perfect, right about there. Sternum height, elbows above, shoulders open. So don't worry about super, super high or pulling it high. We're not snatching today, we're just high pulling today. So have some fun with that, get into a good flow, all right? Get into that nice drive with the leg, smooth it out, push, smooth it out, push, and you can get into a nice rhythm with that movement. Afterwards, we have a wall run. So our wall run, we've done multiple times in terms of our positioning, but we can work on a few cool drills too if we don't have a wall handy. First off, we can work on our butt kick, and there's two butt kick variations. One of which, we keep the knee pointing down, we relax our foot, and we bring that heel straight up the back. The knee points down, and we just alternate back and forth. And we can kind of have some fun with that arm movement at the same time, working on what we would do for our run position and getting that heel up to our butt. Another variation is to kind of build into the pose running method, which kind of builds our run technique. In the run technique, what we want to think about is pulling that heel straight up, which puts the heel right underneath of my glute, and it puts me in this kind of figure four position. So I can kind of get myself ready in this position. The foot's relaxed, I'm pulling up with my hamstring. So I'm pulling, pulling. The knee comes forward, the heel comes straight up. So we want to think about the heel pulling straight forward, but there's a difference between this and this. We're not pulling the knee up, we're pulling the heel up, straight from below the body. Okay, so it's kind of tough to kind of play with that every once in a while. So experiment with it and kind of play with it slow, and then as we get going, we can take both of those drills nice and quick. So we can work on that pose method, or we can work on the heel to bum with the knee pointing down method at a faster pace. And I can tell you, after just doing that for like 10-15 seconds, whew, I am pooped. So you can kind of experiment with that for 20 seconds, 10 seconds off, and work through that practice round, get things fired up, especially if you're planning on running in this workout. If you're planning on going outside and running or on a treadmill, these are great drills to get you fired up and get those legs ready and work on a little bit of form and technique work. Now, in place of the wall run in the workout, if you want to add those in there, you're more than welcome to, and you're just going to accumulate 2 minutes in those drills. So if you're like, I can only go 20 seconds, whoo! You're going to bank 20 seconds until you have banked a solid 120 seconds or 2 minutes, which is the same thing, all right? But have some fun with those different options, you guys. We have the wall run, we have those butt kicks, we have that pose variation of butt kick, which is really cool and really fantastic in terms of building technique. And you can also do that pose method against the wall, except we're pressing against the wall, which brings a little bit of tension into our body with that little bit of lean. So it simulates running outside just a little bit more because we're leaning into the wall at that same angle we would be if we were running outside. All right. From here, we have our double under in our workout, and in our practice round, you can start skipping singles, you can practice double unders, you can work on your ankle pop and power jump, which we're going to go over right now, and a dumbbell lateral step over or jump. So with the power jump, again, we've been building on this idea of practicing our double unders. We don't necessarily need to use a rope to practice our double unders. We can work on our ankle pop, which is basically skipping without a rope. So we're building the shape that we need to maintain and the engagement we need to maintain for skipping. So what we're looking at is an engaged glute, ribs in, elbows tight, and our hands slightly forward, and we maintain that posture. as I work on that nice rebound through the ankles and the knees. Now, with that, we can work the power jump, and the power jump simulates the double under. So we want to think about that nice body position that we worked on during the ankle pop, and we want to maintain that position in the power jump. The only difference is we're giving a little bit more oomph. And you'll notice when I do this power jump on the third jump, so I'm going to do 3, 1, 2, power, you'll notice my body position doesn't change from the ankle pop position. So we get set, go 1, 2, pow, 1, 2, pow, 1, 2, pow. I'm not winding up. I'm not pausing and bending my knees and jumping high. I'm just rebounding with a little bit more force to give that simulation of that slightly higher jump so I can get that rope going at the same time. So a couple little things you can play with that, with the ankle pop. With our lateral jump over, we can work on a skip, a step, or whatever you'd like to do over top of that dumbbell, getting yourself over that safely and effectively laterally, and we can work on that skill as well instead of skipping or double unders. So there's a few cool options. Check the workout description. I'll have a few different variations of practice rounds there, different formats you can play with, plus some good variations for those movements to build into your workout. So as a quick recap, you guys, for the workout, we have 1 round, 30 sumo deadlift high pulls per side, wall run, 2 minutes, or one of those other variations, accumulating 2 minutes in time, and then 100 double unders, or the equivalent to 100 double unders, which I'll have all those options on the workout description on the bottom of the work set. So check that out, create your work set, you guys, have some fun with this. It's one time through, rocking this work set, and just having a good cardio time. So enjoy, have fun today, you guys. Let me know what you chose, what you did. If you went outside and ran a little bit, who knows? All right, sky's the limit. Let me know, have some fun, and always work for quality, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye, you guys.